episode of Cherishing Scripture podcast. I'm joined today with Pastor Bailey off onto my right. I'll get it one day without stumbling, right? or stuttering, sorry. And then
Jeremy,
Zach.
remember what they taught you in kindergarten. Put your hands up, whichever one's the
that
L
doesn't work
makes,
for me.
that's your left.
That doesn't work for me. Maybe it's my beard that makes me do that.
Oh.
But never mind. So, and then Zach behind the
It's all the
sound
cheer
booth
wine
there.
you drink.
Yeah,
Yes,
no,
yes,
it's withdrawals. I haven't had it in like 2 months. So.
Actually, seriously, I have been having major caffeine withdrawals. It's actually pretty insane.
Yeah, I'm back.
I guess that's what happens when you drink like 500 to 600 milligrams of caffeine a day.
Yeah, I'm back on the nitro cold brew
Pastor,
again.
don't
man.
look at me like
So-
that. So.
That's a lot.
I'm back on the nitro cold brew again, man. I keep forgetting how much caffeine's in those things.
300 milligrams for a grande.
Is that an energy drink?
It's a drink from Starbucks.
Yeah, we were talking about this the other day. I've never had an energy drink. I bought one time, but I never drank it.
I'm going to get you one just to see what it does.
Get him a Bang.
I probably wouldn't drink it, man.
Better than
Don't waste your money.
anything else.
I probably wouldn't drink it.
They're all Rain fans, so
Reigns. Blue Razzleberry.
yeah. So a couple episodes ago, we finished chapter 5 in Galatians.
Yep.
Now we're in chapter 6.
Home
And,
stretch.
Yeah.
I can see the finish line.
I know. It's like right there. So I'll read the verse if that's all right.
Good.
All right. It says, Brethren, if any man overtaken in fault, which ye are spiritual, restore such one in the spirit of meekness, considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted.
Great verse.
Yeah,
Yeah,
great.
it's a
Really
great
good
one.
verse. Notice how he put a fruit of the spirit right there in verse 1.
Yep.
Meekness.
Meekness.
That starts it off great
You
there.
know, what's unfortunate in today's culture, it's almost opposite to this. It's if someone's taken in a fault, you set your sights on them, you
Right.
target them, you tell everybody the fault they did.
Right.
And with me saying that, let me preface, I'm not talking about hiding people's sins.
No.
Right.
I'm talking about,
No.
you know that someone does this and you make a mistake. Pastor, you talked about this a couple weeks ago with us. Someone makes a mistake, and instead of going to that person and saying, hey, man, I love you and I'm praying for you, they go to another preacher and they say, hey, did you hear that so-and-so did this? Hey, I heard that so-and-so did this. And just destroy someone's reputation and character.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not over something major. It's over a small thing.
Right.
And it's...
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
I'm in
saddening.
100% agreement with that. And, the word here, one of the early words in this passage that is really, really critical to understanding this verse is the word overtaken. And that word is important because what we're talking about here is a brother who has a legitimate profession, who truly loves the Lord, cares about the Bible. Let's just assume here for a moment maybe he's a newcomer to the faith. Maybe he's been saved less than a year. And maybe he got saved out of alcohol. God saved him from that lifestyle. 9 months after he's saved, all of his friends show up at his house and say, "Hey, we brought some cold ones with us. We want to have a party. We want to enjoy some time with you." And when he sees that, his mouth waters. When he sees that opportunity, he wants that opportunity. And so he stumbles back into alcoholism, a one-time offense. He stumbles. That's what he's talking about here, overtaken. We're not talking about habitual seeking of sin.
Right.
We're not talking about someone who deliberately transgresses the law of God. We're talking about someone who fell, who stumbled.
Yeah.
And I have friends who have done that recently. I have friends who have done that in the past. I have done that.
Mm-hmm.
There's been occasions where I have made my mind up. I'm not going to participate in certain sins, and then there'll be a lapse or a relapse. In those cases, it is emphasized here that fault has not cast him out onto the rocks of sin. He has not lost his salvation. And even if he's discouraged, I'm sure he will be, he needs to be admonished. He needs to be encouraged. He needs to be restored.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's important for us to say this too, just so we don't get called liberals on this, but we've got to be careful with that word meekness too, because some people take that word meekness or gentleness and will use it as compromising on that brother's sin or that overtaking of the fault.
Right.
But really, Paul never sugarcoated anything,
No.
and neither did Jesus. So
No.
we're not excusing that brother's sin, but when
Of
we
course
come to
not.
him with meekness, we come to him with still recognizing the sin, but we come to him with patience and
Absolutely.
care and kindness
But
and
it
gentleness.
goes back to as well the I believe the same principle applies that we've talked about before. I believe you're supposed to go to that brother,
Right.
right? One of the things that aggravates me the most personally is when I hear that people, for me, I'll use me as an example, when people start going to other people and they use it as a cloak of, hey, I want to get advice on what to do.
Yeah.
But they're using this advice on what to do as an excuse to go and run their mouth
Right.
Correct.
about a person.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's truthfully, in the day we live in, with social media and the internet the way it is, I mean, there's no hope if you like. And I hate to sound like dramatic. I'm not trying to be,
Yeah.
but there's really no hope. I mean, Twitter is literally the dark hole. I've realized that it's
Yeah.
like.
Hey, did you see Jake Potter's tweet? I'm a newcomer to Twitter, right? So I may be talking out of turn here. I don't know, but did you see Jake Potter's tweet from a couple of days ago, where he brought up the sin of his dad, and he said, "My dad, maybe it was back in before 2000." He said, "My dad had a moral failure." And he said it was a bad one. It was a terrible moral failure. And then he said this. He said, "Thank God we were not in the days of social media back then, or our family would have been destroyed." And so you're exactly right, Zach. The social media stuff that is going around these days, when somebody falls, it's exposed immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And there is what I'm going to call here in this conversation, there is the dreaded time stamp.
Right.
Okay, so if you got caught maybe with pornography, or if you got caught drunk, maybe you got a DUI, okay, or there's a stumble, there's a fall. If that's the case, people will time stamp you. And the less spiritual group will time stamp you, and they'll say, "Oh, that guy's a drunk."
Yeah.
What, because you stumbled? Or that guy's a pervert? What, because you stumbled?
Mm-hmm.
And so, if there's habitual behavior, I agree with you, Jeremy. The Apostle Paul wouldn't be saying this. He's not talking about habitual behavior here.
Right.
He's talking about a stumble.
Right.
Right.
He's talking about a lapse or a fall.
What you just mentioned, Pastor, actually the exact quote from that, he said, "For my family's sake and our church's sake, thank God there wasn't social media."
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, and it was crazy, and it was like a limbo for a minute. I remember one week, there's this well-known guy, hardcore IFB, I won't mention his name for sake of it, but news came out about him doing stuff. And certain people were going and almost mocking it, like, "Oh, this isn't no surprise. Like, this guy's kind of crazy. We knew this is just a matter of time." Well, then come to find out, one of their good friends that's more what we would call left-leaning had what I would consider an even greater fall.
Right.
And the people on the right were going
and that's
laughing
exactly
at him and mocking him.
I think I know what you're talking about, too.
That's exactly why we have this verse. He said, "Restore such an one in the spirit of meekness, considering thyself."
Mm-hmm.
This could happen to you tomorrow.
Right.
The consequences that caused that brother to stumble is that he had flesh and opportunity that overpowered him and overtook him. And if you don't think that those two things can overpower and overtake you, you're pretending.
Right.
So
this
he
is
is
something I
saying here,
mentioned
you
to
need to
Jeremy.
consider the weakness of your own testimony, the vulnerability of your own flesh.
And that's the problem, like, I'm kind of having with these people who are, we all know there's people that are on the IFB side and there's people that are not. And the bad part is when these IFB preachers do stumble, it's an attack on them. I think I know the exact one you're talking about, and it's uncalled for.
Well,
because
what
the
it
same
was
exact
the people
thing.
on the left, when they saw him fall, they were like, "See, we were right. This is why we should have left the IFB." And then when the person on the left falls, they're like, "Hey, you need to show grace and love this person because we're sinners too." And I agree with that. I agree with that whole statement about that, but I looked at it and I was like, I did just hear you mocking this guy for doing it.
Right. And it seems like that can't be coincidental. You know, it seems like to me, you know, Dr. Blue taught us that Dr. Stent Blue's in heaven now with the Lord and just a giant of the faith. And Dr. Blue taught us, he said, look, if you get arrogant, you get proud, you get condescending, and you look down your nose at other people, Dr. Blue used this term. He said, God has no other option but then to kick the leg out from under your pedestal and let you fall.
Yeah.
That sent chills down my spine, made my blood run cold when Doc said that. He said, God will kick the leg out from under your pedestal and let you fall. And so I'm of the persuasion that Dr. Blue is right, and that a lot of this, these things that these guys are you know, pounding their chest about and beating this drum about online, they better consider themselves, because God has the ability to let us stumble into circumstances that could cause us to be the next casualty.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
that's another thing is you have to be really careful too, because even if a brother or even a pastor who has the stumbling issue, he is still a man of God. And you have to be careful about the houndingness that you do with them, because again, the same thing. Remember, God says revenge is the same. I think this is part of that revenge, because revenge is his, because you just can't go around doing that.
Right. I think last week, Jeremy, and you liked it. My thing is with the whole stance, with the IFB, with people that are a little more left leaning. Mm-hmm. The last thing we need is preachers being disqualified from the ministry. If anything, we need more preachers out there, more preachers. And instead of praying and hoping that someone falls so that we can feel like we get a little moral victory, we should be praying that God uses them. I have churches that I disagree with. I have pastors that I strongly disagree with and I have issues with. But I'm still praying that God will use their church and use their ministry to win souls, because at the end of the day, that's what matters.
And I don't want them to fall.
No.
Right.
Even if they're, you know, even if it's a guy 6 blocks from here who may be taking members from me,
right?
I'm not going to sit in judgment of that guy and say, I hope he winds up immoral and out of the ministry. That's ridiculous. But I've heard that. Mm-hmm. I've heard pastors who have actually made comments like that, you know, as if you know, they're keeping score against these guys, and it violates everything in the Scripture. 1 Corinthians chapter 13 said, "Charity thinketh no evil."
Yeah,
it does not wish evil on someone. That's not genuine and true charity, if it does. But another point here that could be made, guys, before we have to wrap this up: who do you want, according to this verse? Who do you want handling sin problems in the church? He answers the question here pretty clearly. Ye which are spiritual.
Right.
Yep.
There are carnal people in the church who are going to handle it wrong. There are spiritual people in the church who are going to be introspective. They're going to do a lot of soul searching before they make a statement or preach a message or whatever the case is. So we want spiritually minded people. I'm convinced that the reason why we're having a lot of these problems is because we don't have enough spiritually minded people in the church to handle them.
Right.
The sad thing for me, though, is I know I'm by no means the only one. My wife and I both have this. I struggle with, like, anxiety of, like, things happening or me messing up, because I know I know there are people that want me to fail and are waiting for it, and I refuse to give them that.
Right.
So I live in this heightened stress environment where I'm trying to make sure that I do everything right, and I'm bound to mess up, I'm bound to fail, and I know that's going to happen.
Sure.
And I already have. But it's like when I do, I get this gut-wrenching feeling just praying that nothing happens. And then I personally have night terrors, and I get these dreams that feel so realistic. And I'll wake up like freaking out, hoping that what I just dreamed of didn't happen and doesn't happen. It's frightening. It's really frightening. And, you know, the thing also that comes to mind is this restoration process. Why are we so surprised when people sin? I mean, we're sinners.
That's true.
Right. I mean, David said, in sin did my mother conceive me. And so why are we surprised when we find out that a preacher has stumbled into some kind of a fault, or even if we find out if it's just a common garden variety member of the church, when we find out, this kid who is 17 years old, 18 years old, maybe younger, 16 years old, and maybe he's been exposed that he's been sexually active with his girlfriend. Why are we surprised when these things happen? That is human nature.
Right.
Human nature is we can't control our impulses and our instincts. We need the Holy Ghost. We need the Spirit of God to sanctify us daily. We need the Word of God as a barrier and as a filter that keeps us from these types of struggles. But even then, it's not a guarantee. Mm-hmm. Look, I cannot sit here and tell you that this is never going to happen to any of us at this table.
Right.
The likelihood of this never happening to any of us is completely nil. Mm-hmm. One of us is going to stumble.
Yep.
And so there has to be a spiritual mind about it, and a spirit of restoration, spirit of meekness. The word meekness there, you remember that word picture is a breeze. It's not talking about the gale force winds of a hurricane or a tornado. It's talking about the comforting winds of a breeze.
Right.
Very helpful.
So I think that'll conclude this verse. A lot of great truths in just one little verse.
I love that verse. This is one of my favorites.
Yeah, I can't wait for the next one where he says, bear you one another burden. So that'll be a fun one to talk about. But you can catch all these episodes on YouTube, Google, Apple Podcasts, and there's like 6 or 7 different other ones. Email us. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this verse at info@brandonbaptisttabernacle.com. You can visit our church. We have services multiple times throughout the week, Sundays, Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesdays. All of those times are on our website as well. Bible college is coming up.
Yeah.
Don't miss your chance to enroll.
After Labor Day.
Yeah, don't miss your chance to enroll.
Can I give that website too?
Sure.
That's ttinstitute.org, Tampa Theological Institute, Tri-State Seminary. It's ttinstitute.org.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's always fun, all the talks we have and all the things you learn. So definitely don't miss your chance to enroll. But we thank you guys for listening to another episode of Cherishing Scripture Podcast.